Okay, very good. Okay, got it. All right. Good morning and welcome. It's a gorgeous morning in San Antonio, and it's the last day of work for many of the people that are joining us before Thanksgiving, and we have so much to be thankful for. But let me begin with a roll call. Okay, Ms. Thompson.
Present.
Mr. Nemec.
Present.
Okay, Dr. White.
Present.
And Mr. Clemens.
Present.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. Everyone's present. And Rebecca, I don't know that we have any public comments.
Mm.
No, ma'am, we did not receive
No?
any. No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, very good. With that, let me move to the minutes. And thank you once again to Rebecca and everyone. I know it was a lot of work to get the board agenda out a week in advance, but it's greatly appreciated that you did this. But have you had the chance, board members, to review the minutes? And if so, if there are no corrections, do I hear a motion to accept them?
Yes, Donald Nemec, I move that the minutes for the regular board meeting held on September 17th, 2021 be approved as written.
Very good. Second?
Francis White, I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. And I assume all are in favor, but let me ask, I'm in favor. How about you, Rose?
In favor.
Okay, Mr. Nemec?
In favor.
Okay, Dr. White?
I'm in favor, yes.
Okay, and Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, and with that, I will now move that we go into closed session for the purpose of consulting with an attorney. And I'm assuming, Dr. Anderson, that the attorneys are here and present.
Carl, do we have the attorney on?
Yes, sir.
This is Todd Clark, and I'm present.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, so at this time, we'll ask everyone else to excuse themselves, and we will go into closed session. And with that, Dr. Anderson, do you want to give us a little bit of background information about the topic?
Dr. Bell, I do apologize.
We're not in closed session yet.
Yeah, I'm so
Okay.
sorry. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to be sending out an invitation to the board and to Mr. Clark and Carl and Dr. Anderson, if that's okay, so that y'all can go into closed session at this moment. So
Okay,
you'll give me just a few seconds and I'll get that going.
Rebecca,
Okay,
would you
thank you.
include David Holmes on that invitation if you have his email? If not, I can forward it.
Yes, sir, I sure can. Is he logged into Zoom?
He is.
Okay, yes, sir. I'll get that going here in just a second. You'll get it on this platform, and all you have to do is accept the invitation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
okay. So Rebecca, I did get this message, so let me join the closed session.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Recorded by.
We are back. Okay. We are back in, it's 10:55 and we are back in open session. And I think that we are ready to have a couple of motions associated with our closed meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I will have two motions. The first motion for me to make and then hopefully vote on is I move we authorize the superintendent to and legal counsel to file suit as necessary to pursue the district claims related to Ray Tech Construction Services, Inc.'s former occupancy of RMA property in
Okay,
Corpus
I've heard a
Christi.
motion. Do I hear a second?
Francis White, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let me do a roll call. I vote in favor of it. Ms. Thompson?
She's on mute.
Yes.
Yes, in favor of
Okay,
the motion.
very good. Mr. Nimick,
In favor.
Dr. White,
Yes.
and Mr. Clemens.
In favor.
Okay, very good. And so we have a second motion.
Second motion, I move we authorize the superintendent and legal counsel to counter the offer of settlement as discussed in closed session and negotiate and execute an appropriate agreement as discussed in closed session.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Francis White, second.
Very good. Hearing a motion in a second. I vote in favor. Ms. Thompson?
In favor of.
Okay, Mr. Nimick?
In favor.
Okay, Dr. White
Yes.
and Mr. Clemens.
In favor.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the time and we'll look forward to an update in the future from Dr. Anderson. So let's go ahead and move on with our action items. It appears that we have, our next would be the audit. And my understanding is that after we hear the audit report, we are going to have a really short break, a 15-minute break that gives us the opportunity to take care of the paperwork associated with it and sign some documents. So having said that, Dr. Anderson, do we have auditors on board?
Yes, ma'am. We have Gary Sauls, who is with Paul Christians and Associates. They are a familiar face to RMA as they have been conducting the annual audits for a good while now. And so, Mr. Sauls, are you prepared?
Oops, you're on mute. There you go.
Now. Can you
No,
hear me
no,
now?
that's fine now. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, hello, everyone. Hope everybody's having a good morning. And I'll first off by saying that I know you got the final report at a late hour, and I apologize for that. The draft that was sent out, just so you'll know, if you had a chance to go through the draft, there wasn't any changes to the financial numbers. A lot of the changes that were made to the final were just formatting changes, that type of deal. So if you've had a chance to look at the draft, hopefully you have, that you'll kind of be where I am as far as what I'm going to discuss. If you have any questions during the meeting as I go through the presentation, please stop me and ask. I will start on page 7 of the audit report. If everyone has that in front of them, I don't know if are we going to scroll up to that page 7? Okay, well, I'll just start at the it's a statement of financial positions, and hopefully everyone has that in front of them. Total assets for 2021 were $21,680,000. That was an increase of about $3.3 million from the prior year. Most of that is related to the cash and cash equivalents, which was up $2.4 million. and the increase in property and equipment, which is about $685,000. If you look at the cash flow statement on page 9, I can kind of go through what accounted for the increase in cash and cash equivalents. If you have page 9 in front of you, so basically what we have is cash increased $165,000 from the cash provided by the operating activities. We had a decrease related to purchase of capital assets, which most of that dealt with the Corpus campus of around $1 million. And then we got that, and then the financing activities, we got the $2 million payback protection loan of $2 million. And then the loans, project draws for the Corpus project of $3,498,000 for a total. So that accounts for most of the increase in cash for the year. Going back to page 7, the statement of
Mr.
financial
Sauls?
position.
Mr.
Yes.
Sauls, I do apologize. My screen sharing paused, but I'm with you now, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. There we go. So now on page 7, as you can see, total liabilities increased by $1.3 million to $10,476,000 in 2021. Again, that, as you can see, that paycheck protection program loan of $2 million is included in that number. And then we had some pay downs of accounts payable and accrued wages payable from last year. Net assets, total net assets for the year increased $1.9 million from last year to $11,204,140. So it gives us a total liabilities and net assets of $21,680,189. Anyone have any questions on that particular statement? So if we go to page 8, which is a statement of activities. If you look at that, total revenues for the year were $17,499,286 compared to $19,713,102 last year. Most of that decrease is related to the state program revenues. Up at the top, it went down almost $2 million from the previous year. Total expenses for the year were $15,533,402, a decrease of $2,804,000. Most of that is related to salaries that decreased close to a little over $2 million. So that gave us a change in net assets of $1,965,484 for the year.
I do have a question, if I may. Part of the decline in the state program revenues, that has to do with enrollment?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it does. And I don't remember what those numbers were that went down, but it was obviously pretty significant for a $2 million decline. Anyone else with a question on that statement? If we can just go real quick to page 27. Well, I'm sorry, the page numbers are not matching up to what I have. So if you'll scroll on down, Becky, I'll just keep going all past the supplementary information. I'll tell you when.
Becky, it's Board book, page 4.
Right there, yeah. Right there is the report I'm looking for. This kind of summarizes the audit reports that we have issued for the year. The audit report, the type of audit report we issue is considered an unmodified clean opinion report. We issued a internal control over financing reporting. Basically, we're saying there was no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies within the internal controls. We did find what we call just some deficiencies within the internal control structure that I've discussed with Tammy and Dr. Anderson. So those issues are addressed or will be addressed in the coming year. And then we issued an internal control over major programs. The major program that we tested this year, we usually test the largest one, and it again is Title I. And we had no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or anything like that in issuing an unmodified report. So that's kind of, those are the summarizes the reports that were issued in the actual report itself. Does anyone have any other questions related to any of those statements that I've reviewed?
From my perspective, I think noting that there were no deficiencies for internal controls, that's very important. And while, you know, we all want the money to be better, I mean, it is what it is, but, you know, just that this is a good, clean audit, that everybody took care of their fiduciary responsibilities that's important.
Yes, and obviously the audit is always you never know what you're going to run into when you start one of these, but Tammy was a tremendous help in getting me through this. It does make it a little more difficult when we do most of this stuff off site. Sometimes it's nice to be able to visit the campus and do those kind of things, but hopefully one day we'll get back to that where we can go do those things. But again, Tammy was a tremendous help in getting through all the things and questions I had and some of the issues that came up during the audit.
Well, I'm also glad that you are there to help our employees. If they have questions during the year, it's always helpful if they can pick up the phone and give the auditor a call. So
Always, without question.
yeah.
I noticed you did Title I. When you sampled the other areas, did you do that? Or was just like Title I is the only one you looked at?
Well, we're required to, what this is considered, it's a single audit. So we're required to go in and perform certain compliance procedures related to what's considered a major program, federal program. And we do those type of procedures, looking at transactions, disbursements, and things that go through that Title I. But on all the other areas, in the financial statement audit, we address every audit area as a whole.
Thank you.
Any other
questions?
questions? Any other questions or comments? So our next step would be to ask the board to approve this so that it can be submitted. And what's the date again for it to be submitted? Looks like November. Is that correct? November 27th?
Yes, November, right at the end of 28th, I believe, of November.
Okay.
Maybe about 27th.
So as soon as Thanksgiving is over, this has to be submitted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I don't want to cut any questions short or any comments, but if there are no more, I'm looking for a motion for the board to approve and submit the annual financial compliance report to TEA.
Rose Thompson, I move that the board approve and submit the annual financial compliance report to the Texas Education Agency.
Francis White, I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. We've had a motion and second, and I approve. Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Nimick
Yes, I approve.
and Dr. White?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, and Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Okay, and with that, that was a unanimous. And we're ready to take a 15-minute break. Is that correct? So that we can get some of the paperwork things taken care of? Is that right?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes,
so-
please.
Okay, so it is now 11:11, so let's say 11:30. We'll be back in session again. Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
So it's 11:20. It's 11:27, and let's go ahead and work our way through the rest of the action items. I have next on the agenda, a letter of intent for the Midland campus. And I think that that's going to be Carl.
Good morning, or still morning? Yes, good morning. We are going to be presenting a letter of intent for lease some property in Midland, Texas, which would require the relocation of our existing Midland campus to an area of town that we feel is much more conducive to having a school. So with that said, a little background, in October of 2020, Dr. Anderson and myself began a search for a new facility to replace our existing facility in Midland, Texas. And we looked at several spaces at that time, 3 of them, which we considered to be potentially useful for this purpose. After the pandemic hit in March of 2020, it became apparent that we're going to have to slow down that search and even shelve it until a later date. So with that said, we went ahead and just extended our existing lease to carry us 1 more year while we looked for or while we decided what the pandemic was going to do to the schools. So at this time, the administration would like to present the board with a letter of intent to lease some property at a church, Alamo Heights Baptist Church in Midland, Texas. It's off of Midland Drive. This area is a much better location, we think, for a school there. Our current rent for our Midland location is $16,920. The proposal, let's see, Becky, if you'll go to page 54. This proposal will, we will be offering $850 annual base rent based on the number of students we have. Currently, we're going to start that rent at 150 students, which would be $127,500 per year, or $10,625 per month. And this lease at the Alamo Heights Baptist Church would be for 3 years, at the end of which time we would contemplate purchasing the property. We've been in talks with the church, and they're very much interested in this kind of arrangement. It's kind of a lease to purchase.
Carl,
yes.
Just so the board will know, as far as that base rent goes, the way we structured it was like we have with the Houston campus. The Houston facility is a church as well, and so we took the same rent structure that we've used with that church over the past contracts.
Yes, that's correct. And we've had a very successful relationship with the church in Houston, and we're hoping to have the same with Alamo Heights Baptist Church in Midland. With the exception of at the end of the first 3 years, we would look to purchase the property because we've been in kind of the mode of purchasing our property as opposed to leasing it as we go forward. If that does not come to fruition, we have built into this lease three-year extension. So this lease could actually carry us out 9 years if needed to. Now with the $850 per student, just to note, if our enrollment goes down because of the relocation, the rent would go down. So the rent would change annually based on the student enrollment. If the number of students goes up, we would go up in rent as well, but it would certainly be justifiable if our enrollment increased there. And our hope is that our enrollment would increase there because we think that it's in a better location, it's more residential, and it's also based on the fact that a lot of our student population comes from this area. So Becky, could we go back to the action item? So with that, I'd like the board to consider giving authorization to the superintendent or his designee to continue negotiation of terms and present to the board at the next board meeting an actual contract for the leasing of this property in Midland.
And if I might add too, down at the Midland campus, a little background, down at the current Midland location, they're busting at the seams. When we went down there a couple of months ago, there were 2 classrooms in one room and they had sectioned off. So they're out of room. And so the option we had was to expand in the current location, which those people were willing to do. However, they would build it into our rent. So Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, but our rent would have went up to more than $16,000 a month had we let them do the build out, correct?
Yes, our rent would have gone up an additional amount of money, which would probably have put us closer to the $25,000 a month range.
Mhm.
And then also in working with Tammy and our finance department, it would also hit our books different than actually doing the lease at the Alamo Heights Baptist Church. So the construction project, which would be added to our rent, would hit our books different in a negative way. And so financially, the move is actually more viable as well.
Carl,
Yes.
yeah, I'm sure y'all are keeping your pulse on the charter renewal plus the ADA plus the status of the Midland campus.
That
And
is correct.
even with all of that said, I do understand, I've been on that campus and I understand the need to move away from there because it wasn't designed for what we need.
And that is correct. There's been a lot of development on our charter renewal. Dr. Anderson has been in a lot of meetings with the state, and he's actually working with a task force that he's helped create out of Austin to help improve the dropout recovery accountability system. And so our original thought was not to purchase at this time because we didn't know what we would get into with charter renewal. However, things are looking more positive for us, much more positive for us. And so I think at the end of this 3 years, we will be coming back to you guys for a purchase option.
And two, just Ms. Thompson, in all of our contracts, we put in there a contingency that if for some reason the state closes a campus or whatever, that we would have that out, in those cases. So it's not like we're going into it and would be locked down and they, do away with the Midland school or something like that.
Yes.
I really understand that, the need to move away from where we are now, because that, like I said earlier, that campus was not designed to meet our needs.
And in the past up north where we're going back to, and it's a long story. And Carl, I don't know if you want to give the board the whole background of how we ended up in that campus. It was originally to be an additional campus in Midland for
Alternative.
the altar for young ladies, pregnant young ladies, right, Carl, that were.
It was going to be students from the local juvenile detention center.
Juvenile probation kids were going to be coming there for
Yes.
sessions.
But by the time we got the building and everything, the people had found another partner. Is that correct?
They had gone into partnership with the local ISD and kind of left us standing. We had two campuses at that time, a Midland North and a Midland South. There was also a pinch on hiring staff in that area because of an oil boom that was occurring at the time. So the decision was made to consolidate the two campuses into one. It was felt at that time that would be able to better maintain the smaller footprint. And so that's what we did. However, now we've certainly outgrown that many times over. And I'm pretty sure that our enrollment in that area could go up even further if we had more space and better location.
Because before, I think it was averaging around, and I know Ms. White, who used to be there, it was averaging around 2 something
We were
back in those days. Is that correct?
Yes, probably between on a low year 180 and on a high year 250.
So,
Thank you.
are there any other questions?
If there are no more questions, any more comments? So I guess I do have one. The move then would happen this summer?
It would. Our goal would be to, as a matter of fact, the next action item up would be to get an architect started to work with the city to get us into this. Our hope is to get construction documents started and hopefully be going out to bid by March on getting some construction work done. And then between March and the beginning of the year, we would work to get the place ready for a move in to start school this next year.
Okay. And I gather since the church is anticipating or thinking about selling this, that maybe they're looking at a different location, or just their numbers have dropped or something like that.
They are looking at a different location. So they're looking at some improved facilities for themselves as well.
Okay.
I think they are looking and for growth too, Dr. Putzka. The membership has gotten older, and the pastor is entertaining the option to sell, thinking that if we go out further or somewhere, we can rebuild our membership.
Okay. Okay, so any more comments, questions? And if not, then can I entertain a motion that the superintendent or his designee be approved to negotiate terms to lease a property located at 1305 North Midland Drive?
Rose Thompson, I move that the superintendent or his designee be approved to negotiate terms to lease the property located at 1305 North Midland Drive, Midland, Texas, 79703, as a possible location for the Rma Midland campus.
Okay, is there a second?
Donald Nimick, I second the motion.
Okay, very good. All in favor? I vote yes.
Rose Thompson, yes.
Mr.
Donald
Nimick,
Nimick, yes.
Dr. White, almost, there you go.
Francis White, yes.
Okay, good. And Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And we will move on now to the next item. And I think this is, Carl, your item as well.
Yes.
Selection of the architectural engineering services firm.
Yes. So as part of this move to the new Midland location, once we have the contract in place and we're ready to start getting this thing ready, we will have to do some minor adjustments to the property to have it school ready. And we will require an architectural firm to work with the city to make sure that we meet all the fire codes and necessary accommodations to run a school there. We have to have a certificate of occupancy with an E designation, and they would help negotiate that through the city and work on the upgrades necessary to get us in there. And so I am recommending to the board that we bring on Marmon Mock as our architects for the upcoming year to see us through this project. We've worked with Marmon Mock in the past. If you'll go to page 64 in the board book, you'll see where they've done 3 of our projects in the past. Rma Corpus Christi most recently. Pasadena was our original project, and then they did the Midland building that we're in now. So they are familiar with the city of Midland and working with them. And just if you go through their information on page 85, you would actually see the Rma Pasadena campus that they originally renovated for us. And in this particular case, it was the old Social Security building in Pasadena, Texas. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on doing is going into these cities and renovating an existing building that the community is fond of and familiar with. And that was the project in Pasadena. And on page 86, I think it is, this is our Corpus project that we were talking about earlier today. This was an old movie theater that we renovated in Corpus, and the city is very fond of that. We went down, Dr. Anderson and myself, this past week, and Mr. Showers in our organization had set up some meetings with the Chamber of Commerce and city officials, and we got a very good response on this project. So with that said, we're recommending that we continue to work with Marmon Mock. They're familiar with RMA and the work we do. We've had good success with them in the past, and we'd like to continue with that. So Becky, if we could go back to the.
And Carl, we don't have any pictures of the church to share with the board because it's a very nice building, which, we're not going to have to do a major, renovation like we did with some of the others, but it's a very nice church that once had classrooms and everything. Well, it has classrooms and all of that stuff laid out in it.
Dr. Anderson, I presented pictures of the building when we originally went to that. I did not bring them this meeting, but I will be happy to bring some photos of that building when we come back at the next board meeting. I could also send some of those out through Becky to the board so that you could just have a look at that building. But once again, the Alamo Heights Baptist Church is, again, one of those buildings that's the city is familiar with and the people are familiar with. And I think we'll have, once again, very good success with that project as well.
Carl, I would like to see numbers of what we're going to have to invest in the restructuring, because if I remember you presenting this facility, and it was going to be some shared space with like the kitchen area and some other things. So yes. I'd like to see numbers as soon as possible.
And that's that will be part of the project. Once we select the architect, we go back and we take the project to them. And then they'll put together a budget, and we'll be able to bring that back to the board, hopefully at this next board meeting. We will definitely bring it back at the next board meeting because we have to move forward. So with that, I would request that the board's consideration and approval on selecting the architectural engineering firm to assist with the Midland campus, and that would be the firm of Marmon Mock.
Okay, do I hear a motion for the approval of Marmon Mock?
I'll make the motion. I move the approval of Marvin Mark as the provider of architectural engineering services on a task request basis for the Midland campus, and delegate to the superintendent or his designee the authority to negotiate a contract to present to the board for possible action.
Thank you, Dr. White. Do I hear a second?
Donald Nimick, I will second.
Thank you, Donald. All in favor? I vote yes. Rose?
Rose Thompson, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Donald Nimick, yes.
And Mr. Clements?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carl. And so I think the next item is yours as well, isn't it, Carl?
Yes.
Disposal of unserviceable equipment.
Yes, as we get into our charter renewal for this next year, our campuses are cluttered with not only technology equipment, but old furniture and boxed items and that sort of thing. So our team has gone out and collected all of the technology, the old technology that was stored in cabinets and closets and that sort of thing. And we pulled all that together, and we would like to have the board approve the removal and recycling of this old technology. Becky, if you could, let's see, you'll see a lot of the equipment is either broken or it's just aged to the point where we can't use it anymore. So if you want to go back to the action item page, Becky.
Carl, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did we ever get rid of all of the storage sheds, stuff that we had stored in those?
We did. All of our storage sheds have been closed out, and a lot of this equipment has come back to the campuses. And so that's another reason we're trying to get rid of it. There will be another cleanup going into the beginning of this next year. We're anticipating for renewal for TEA and our local service centers to visit some campuses, and we want to make sure that they're as clean and clutter-free as possible. So going into the beginning of the year, we'll be making another round, and you guys will get another list of equipment that are not equipment, but probably furnishings and that sort of thing that will be disposed of as well.
Thank you.
You know, sometimes you just need company to have a good house cleaning.
Isn't that
And,
true?
yeah. Okay, any more questions or comments? Do I hear a recommendation or a motion to approve the disposal of items?
Donald Nimick, I move the board approve the disposal of items presented for each campus which are no longer serviceable.
Francis White, second.
Okay, let's vote, and I'm voting yes. Rose?
Rose Thompson, yes.
Donald Nimick, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Bob Clemens, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's now move on to the other portion of our board meeting, the information items and superintendent report. Dr.
All right.
Anderson.
Thank you. Good morning again to everyone. I wanted, as always, to share with the board, touch on several topics. I have a lot to share this morning. The first thing that I wanted to start out with is the main focus, which is always our attendance and enrollment and things of that nature. And so please keep in mind that as we try to meet the deadline to get the board booked together a week before the meeting, that's why sometimes you're going to see information from November 9th, as far as enrollment data. And as you all know, that's constantly changing. And so as of November 9th, we had an enrollment of 1,611 students, and the ADA was at 77.9%, which equated to 1,255 students, which was up 5.3% from the last report to the board. And the retention is at 77.1. Now, enrollment has increased from the start of school, but it has also stabilized over the last few months. And so, we are taking measures to increase our enrollment. Several things. We've started looking at root causes for the enrollment issue. And one of the things that we've done, and I don't know that I've shared this with the board, but I reached out to Richard Marquez, who used to be the CEO of Texas Can Academy. And he's come in to do some consulting at the Pasadena campus with the ESSER money. And he did it as a favor to me at a really low cost. And so one of the things that he's identified, is some issues with our academic structure, with the way that we are running our Edgenuity. And so we've started, Dr. Givens and her team has started looking at that, and we're trying to iron that out so that in the spring we can. One of the things was that our Edgenuity setup was too tedious, that the kids couldn't possibly finish. And this is not something that just started, recently. This has been something that's been going on for some time, but it was almost impossible for students to finish the Edgenuity courses. And then on top of that, we had some systemic grading issues, and we'll be coming to the board with some changes. One of our central office members was at one of the campuses, and a kid said to the person, I have a 7 in a class. And he said, even if I made 100 next 9 weeks, he says, I still couldn't pass that class. He says, so what is the incentive for me to continue to come to school? And so I think that we have some issues in the way our academic programs have been structured, and I want the board to know that we are addressing those. And I've asked Dr. Givens in January, we will be bringing what we've done to address this, and hopefully that will be something that will help us keep our students by helping them to be more successful. Back in the day, you used to give a minimum grade of a 50, and that was it. And that encouraged the student, gave the student some hope. But then the legislator passed a bill of some act called the True Grade Reporting Act, which basically said, you give the true grade that the kid has, So we've got several things that we're dealing with. And then Carrie, Ms. Ring, and I have had some extensive conversations as far as, some new marketing approaches, getting some billboard action going that gives our message in a simple and meaningful way, as well as some TikToks. We're going to have some student competitions, creating some TikToks across the district to try and help recruit other students. And so we're doing some things. Mr. Tanton's daughter is a student at Texas Tech, and she was in a marketing class, and they had to analyze a website, and she brought some very valuable information to our attention of things that our website was lacking, that wouldn't help us get students, or the information that could be added. And so we've put her in touch with Ms. Ring, and Texas Tech's marketing department is partnering with RMA to help us enhance our website and address some of those deficiencies. And we moved away from the old website host that we were dealing with, and we went to Blackboard. We just signed a contract with Blackboard. And so we're working to enhance our website, overall. And so you'll see some transitions there. And so those are some of the things that we are doing to address our enrollment and to try and reach out to expand our reach. And as Carl said, we went to Corpus, we went before the Chamber of Commerce, and we had some great feedback. A lot of people had the same message. And Ms. Thompson, you remember when we went to the city manager to meet with the city manager in Killeen, it was much the same in Corpus. Well, we've heard of RMA, but we never really knew what they did. And that was the same response we got in Corpus. And so I'm going to be pushing really hard to get the message out with city officials and chamber members of what RMA does and building those partnerships. And then Mr. Showers is doing a resilient job in trying to enhance our CTE programs. In the spring, we're hopefully going to be rolling out at Corpus some certifications in phlebotomy, as well as EKG in partnership with Del Mar College. And he's doing that all over the state with where we have schools located. He and I will be in Odessa next month, working on the same type of product there as well. And so, but as far as what can we expect from support from TEA, on the last commissioner's call, the commissioner basically stated that TEA could not do another hold harmless, but what he could do is something in the legislative powers that he has. He can do an operational adjustment. And so the operational adjustment would basically be where he could go and say, okay, what was your ADA percent before COVID hit back in 2019? And what is it now for the first 6 weeks? And he can make some operational adjustments to the ADA percents. But again, that all is impacted based on by your enrollment. I mean, if your enrollment is significantly lower than it was in 2019, then by the time they make the ADA percentage adjustment, it may not be of much value or help financially. And then for the 2nd through the 6th 6 weeks, he's basically said that TEA is looking at an option of allowing campuses to submit low attendance waivers to try and help balance out some of the impact. But it's not just RMA that's dealing with this enrollment issue. It's all over the state. On the call, many superintendents talked about how their enrollments have just not picked back up, and how they're having issues with that. And so, are there any questions about that? Okay. And if you look there on attachment 1, which is the chart on page 115 in the board book, that's just the breakdown of enrollment and attendance and retention by campus for you to kind of look at if you want to dissect it more in depth. Okay. As far as the district's financial stability, the district, again, we built our budget based on a 1,207.7 kids average daily attendance revenue. And currently we're on track to stay within that budget, and we're monitoring it. Tammy, as always, does a fine job of bringing those red flags or potential pitfalls to my attention and keeping me informed, and we have discussions, and then she dumps the hard decisions on me. But we make those, and we try and make sure that we keep the balance, the budget balanced, as to the extent that we can. And so we try to stay in a surplus. And we will continue that process of taking measures to make sure that we are, that we don't get, that our cost doesn't exceed our income and our revenue, or our liabilities don't exceed our revenues. As far as the federal stimulus, ESSER money, which is the elementary and secondary school emergency relief that the federal government gave us, we have basically in ESSER 2, ESSER 1 went to aid to the hold harmless. The state took most of that because they kind of did the hold harmless. And so they said, well, we're going to keep that ESSER 1 money. And so the ESSER 2, we had $1.6 million, and most of that's being used for professional learning for campus principals and teachers and staff development, and as well as the staffing for distance teachers. And then as Carl brought to you all at the last board meeting, the HVAC replacements and upgrades at our leased campus buildings. So we're using that for HVAC work at the campuses we own, as well as those that we are leasing. And then the ESSER 3 monies, which was $3.7 million, most of that's being used for lost learning, but that's summer school, professional learning, professional development again, the social and emotional learning, and the virtual tutors to help, lost learning, and then parent engagement. We've talked about using it for parent and family engagement coordinators, as well as computers to refresh after the COVID-19. If you recall, we lost quite a few computers or laptops, and so the money's was used to replace some of those, as well as software, instructional software. I know that the board has expressed a desire to see teacher salaries raised, and so we're trying to see if to all possible extents about using some of it for potential teacher salary increases. And again, the HVAC money for the campuses that we own were included in that particular piece. Are there any questions? And then we have the Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Support, which is which gives us some additional monies. We had $190,000 for that, which will be used for stipends for staff to support the implementation of our College Bridge program, and then additional instructional supplies that we may need in various classes as well. As far as district staffing, we currently have 5 vacant positions across the district, an associate teacher position in Amarillo, teacher elective labs teacher in Houston. Odessa, we are still struggling to find a counselor. We have a substitute that Ms. Jansen found, and from what I hear is doing a very good job. Ms. Jansen is very pleased with her performance. But we have struggled to find a counselor there in Odessa. We have an ESL teacher that we're still trying to find, as well as a distance science teacher. But for the most part, we've done well to keep our staff, our campuses staffed at 90% or higher. And as you can see, we just have the distance teachers are the only position where we're at like 86%. At capacity, but all the others are at 100%, 7 locations at 100%, 2 at 90% or higher, and then just the distance teachers. We just need that one teacher, and that would put us back to 100%. And so the district currently employs 172 total positions. We have 37 subs. We've hired 16 ESSER tutors, which brings us to a total of 225 people that are currently working within the district. Any questions? Then COVID, as you can see there, since the beginning of the school year, we've had 69 positive COVID-19 incidents spanning over the district. And we currently have 1 active case that we're within the district. And we've followed TEA's compliance of reporting each of the incidents. as outlined by our return to school plan. We continue to provide upgraded janitorial services and PPE equipment to all of our campuses, masks and all of those things. Hand sanitizer, defoggers, all of those things are still available to the campus. And we still we're still standing up our rapid testing project in which students and staff can be tested if they so desire for COVID, for the COVID. And this program provides testing kits and training as well. And then we are still partnering with with vaccination clinics at our campuses. We haven't had a real high participation rate, but we still continue to stand those up when we can and when we can get people to come out to participate, clinical people to come out and host those for us. And we're in communication with health authorities as well as TEA. We continue to do that. And we notify the proper authorities of any COVID incidents or situations that we may have. As far as anything else, we did stand up a COVID vaccination survey so that we could update the board, and the results of our 21-22 vaccination survey, we found that we had 99 people respond. And of those 99 people, basically 95% of them were partially or fully vaccinated, and only 5% were unvaccinated. And so that's where we were with that. And the 99 were basically 58% of the 172 full-time staff that we have that actually responded to the survey. Questions? Okay. And then last, I wanted to just share with you all the mandatory mask update. As you may or may not be familiar with, on November 10th, there was a federal court in Austin that declared that the governor's executive order prohibiting schools from enacting mask mandates, they found it to be unlawful, and basically said that that his GA 38 conflicted with the federal law to the extent that it interfered with local school districts' ability to satisfy their obligations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so the verbiage below is basically some information from Mr. Hoffer, one of our school attorneys, and basically he's just, and you can read that in more depth, but he's just basically saying that it by not, it would have to be a case by case or a district by district decision, because if you mandated masks, it could cause undue harm to people with disabilities. And if you don't mandate masks, it could cause undue harm to people with disabilities. So he said that you would have to basically weigh it on a case by case basis. And so that was just some information there that I wanted to share with the board. And as you know, in a separate case in Bexar County, they also struck down the governor's mask mandate as well. So I'm sure that it's going to go to the Supreme Court for a final decision at some point, but I think you all heard that Ken Paxton did say that he was going to do everything within his legal power to challenge the appeals court's decision. Any questions for any of that information? All right, then I wanted to just take a few moments to recognize several of our district personnel that have been doing some wonderful things in conclusion of my report.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
I think Ms. Thompson had a question.
Yes, Ms. Thompson.
The only thing I want to say, I want to congratulate the campuses. When I look at the attendance and ADA, it seems like it's on the incline. And I'm pleased to see that. When I looked at across the board on all the campuses, the attendance records are improving, and that's a plus.
So it's definitely we have some systemic issues that we're trying to address, and we will continue. It's not like we're sitting here watching, being satisfied with low attendance, but we're fighting several beasts here, and we're trying to.
It's improving. It's improving. It's on the incline.
I did want to just share with the board. Region 11 sent to us a resolution to recognize the profound work and dedication of the school district and charter school personnel in Region 11. And so we want to recognize the Fort Worth staff and that campus for the work that they're doing. And the resolution just basically says, whereas the Board of Directors of the Education Service Center, Region 11, is responsible for the governance of the ESC as it provides support, professional development, and technical assistance to the LEAs it serves. Whereas on the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, for school leaders to immediately employ measures for providing educational services to students in a remote setting. And whereas the need to provide teachers, students, and families with necessary tools and equipment to successfully participate in remote learning required resourcefulness, creativity, and extreme leadership skills in the midst of a crisis. And whereas subsequent 2020-2021 school year required educators to plan for implementing face-to-face, remote, and hybrid models of instruction that met the needs of students in all situations. Whereas district officials were tasked with not only providing quality instruction of students, but also with acquiring and distributing PPE laptops and tablets, internet connectivity, meals, and other resources to assist students and families who were in need. And whereas educators are now focusing on addressing the significant impact that the pandemic has had on academic learning loss and finding ways to help accelerate student learning. And I lost my other page. There we go. And whereas district officials continue to face the challenges of prioritizing the instructional needs of students while also striving to meet the needs of other stakeholders, including parents, community members, and local state government. And whereas all education personnel strive to maintain positive outlook and celebrate the many successes achieved during this crisis. Therefore, be it resolved that the ESC Region 11 Board of Directors formally acknowledges the hard work, dedication, and fortitude of the school districts and charter schools in Region 11 as they continue to keep the education and well-being of students as their top priority. We applaud these educators and leaders for their endless hours of work they do to contribute to the success of all students. Proclaim this 25th day of October 2021. And signed by Dr. Kathy Bryce, Chair, GB Bailey, Secretary, Dennis Hughes, Member, Natalie Taxada, Member, Dr. Larry Blair, Vice Chair, Weldon Ashley, Member, Dr. Karen Rue, Member, and Dr. Jay Thompson, a member of the board. So our hats off and echo the same sentiments to the Fort Worth staff there for the work that they have done during the COVID pandemic. And then two more acknowledgements. I would like to acknowledge Brett Conrad, the ELA teacher in Amarillo, Maddie Stillwell, an AT, Marissa Giard, who is a sub there at Amarillo, Lane McNeese, U.S. history teacher, Elizabeth Littaker, the SCL of Amarillo. They all received the pocket change grant from the Education Credit Union. And this money is to be used for academic rewards, school supplies, school field trips, or classroom materials for the students. And the way that these grants are collected is basically to help give teachers the pocket change they need. The Education Credit Union employees donate monthly for the privilege of wearing jeans on Fridays. And additionally, the credit union's board will matches all the employee contributions, and they take these funds and they then allow schools to school personnel to apply for the grants, and then they award these grants based on applications. And so our congratulations to the staff and the students and the leadership of the Amarillo campus. And last but not least, I would like to recognize Jeanette Huston, who is a teacher at the Midland campus. And she was the recipient of the Innovative Community Grant from the United Way of Midland. And again, she received a $5,000 donation or grant from the United Way that is to be used at the school for students in her classroom, as well as other students on the campus for similar things as the ECU's grant was to purchase supplies, rewards, or field trips to enhance learning. So again, I applaud those personnel, those staff members of RMA that have went above and beyond to secure grants for the students they serve, and my hat's off. And so that concludes my superintendent's report for this month.
Well, thank you, Dr. Anderson. And yes, thanks to everyone who not only did their job, but went above and beyond to secure grants. And this very nice acknowledgement from Region 11 Service Center. Thank them very much for that. Okay. If there is nothing else, then let's move on to our year-to-date financials. I think that's.
Good afternoon. Hi. My presentation starts on page 119 in board book. If you would skip to that first slide for average student enrollment. As you can see from this slide, Ms. Thompson is correct. We are slowly trickling that incline for our enrollment. This slide has 3 years of data on it, and we're looking at enrollment data by month. And the highest date in September that we recorded for enrollment was 1,496 students. So we are addressing that and on an upward trend. And on the following page, we are looking at our average daily attendance for the month of September, and we were at 75% in September. And we're also looking at 3 years of information on this screen as well, also reflecting some of the information here that we've heard during the meeting about schools struggling with getting these numbers back up. Going forward to page 121, this is our foundation school payment revenue. We received this from TEA based on our average daily attendance. We budgeted $16.4 million for revenue, and currently we are with our slightly lower enrollment, we are showing revenue of $14.6 million. And on the following page, we're looking at days cash on hand. This is calculated by breaking out expenses to a daily amount and then dividing it by the cash balance that we have at the end of the month. If a charter has 60 days cash on hand, then TEA gives them the highest rating, which we would obtain based on the information for September at 112 days. And continuing on to page 123, through the month of September, we have $5 million in expenses and almost $3 million in revenue. The very large reason for this disparity is because we have not recognized our PPP revenue yet. Now that the audit is behind me and I will have a little bit more time, I will be applying for that PPP grant to be forgiven. And once that is fully forgiven and recognized by the Small Business Administration, then we will recognize that revenue and we will see that $2 million jump being recognized as revenue in our financials. The expenses that we spent for that PPP loan, they are already recognized. So that's why you'll see the expenses for what we've spent for that PPP loan are in the current financials. It's the revenue piece that we're not allowed to recognize until we do receive that approval back from the SBA. And moving on to page 124, this is our administrative cost ratio. Through September, our administrative costs are around 10% of instructional costs. This equation compares function 21 and 41, which are considered administrative, to our instructional costs, which are function 11, 13, and 31. So we would receive a full 10 points for this on our Charter First score as well. And on page 125, we are looking at actual ADA to estimated ADA. As Dr. Anderson indicated, we submitted ADA of 1,1208 to TEA over the summer, and we are just slightly under that through the month of September at 1,125. And the next page is a snapshot of where we would be for Charter First if the score was held today. So this is not by any means an indicator of where we will land at the end of the year, but where we would land today is an 80. And the reason for that is because we do not have a surplus for the reasons that we just talked about, primarily due to that PPP revenue that we haven't recognized yet. That is indicator 12 and indicator 10. That would both flip as soon as we're able to recognize that revenue. And I fully expect that by the end of the year, we will again see a superior score for our Charter First rating. Last year, TEA waived indicators 10, 15, and 16 due to COVID. We have not heard from TEA at this time whether they're looking at waiving any of these indicators going forward, but it's just something to watch out for if schools continue on a difficult trend. And the last page, 127, is our budget to actual report. This is the income statement for Fund 420, which is our state revenue, and Fund 240, which is child nutrition. We are currently in September representing 25% through the fiscal year. As you can see, we are slightly under percentage, under what we budgeted for state revenue, as we've addressed in several parts of the board meeting today. But we will remain within our means wherever we land on that state revenue. Most of our expenses are in line for this time of the year. Function 33 for health services, it does appear to be slightly higher right now, and that's because our hearing and vision tests are being done at this point in the year, and that is a one-time expenditure. And so once that expenditure happens on most of our campuses, we won't have further spending in that area. Function 61, which is community services, is also slightly elevated because we have already reported the expenses for the retention staff in the retention bonus for those staff in this function. So once that revenue is recognized, it will offset that expenditure, and that is also a one-time expense, and you will not continue to see that incurred. Does anybody have any questions on any of the reports that I've gone through today?
Yeah. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Okay, so Carl, update on the ESSER 2 HVAC?
Yes, so at our last board meeting, we had gotten a request from the board to add not only our purchased campuses, the 5 purchased campuses, to the ESSER HVAC upgrade, but also, if possible, to add our leased campuses. And so with that, working with Jim, we mentioned it last time, but we had not gotten everything in alignment. But this time I'm going to go ahead and tell you where we're at. And so we were able to come up with some additional funds. We came up with, the original number was $490,000 worth of ESSER 3 funds. And we added our purchased campuses to the HVAC upgrades, or we were going to do HVAC upgrades at those campuses. And Jim was able to come up with an additional $310,000, which allowed us to add our leased campuses to that project as well. So with that, just to update the board, that did increase our engineering fees by a bit. $39,500 would be added for the leased campuses, and that that number was added to the original contract. So with that said, the original contract was at $46,000 in fees, and the additional campuses are $39,000 in fees, and it brings us to a total of $85,000 in engineering fees. But at this point, we are going to be doing all of our campuses, and including the new Midland location that we're going to be moving to. So that's my information, just to update you guys on that project. It is moving forward. We now have all of our campuses included, and we're looking forward to getting that finished off by the end of this year.
That's a pretty aggressive agenda, but thank you for making that happen.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no more questions and comments, we're ready for the school operations and facilities portion of our board meeting. And so Dr. Anderson.
Oh, that was under Carl, that we're at D, the district strategic plan. All right. As the board is aware, we have our district strategic plan, which we've shared with you all, the whole plan, the 3-year plan, which was created and implemented last school year. And so I like to bring an update to the board in the fall and then again in the spring. We have aggressively been working to achieve the strategies and initiatives in the district strategic plan. And so I've asked each department to share where they are on the initiatives, and I think we blew it up in your actual on the board book side, but the PDF is going to be kind of smaller. However, at this time, I would call for Dr. Givens. And let me just say this too before we start. We will need to probably start with Ms. Hughes again this summer, working towards our next 3-year strategic plan. And so I ran into her at the charter school conference. And so she's willing to assist us again. And I think she did a really good job last year with helping us. So we will have to re-engage in that here soon. All right, Dr. Givens, would you please share with the board the academic performance priority initiatives and where we are on those?
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share with you our priorities. We had 3 major goals in the academic department. One was the standardized lesson plans, and I would like to report that we're actually ahead of schedule with our standardized lesson plans. All 5 EOC courses have standardized lesson plans. Our district instructional coordinators have worked overtime to provide timely, TEAC-aligned plans to those teachers. And then for the second goal is goal 2, focus district instructional priorities. Again, we are on track. We have definitely increased our professional development offerings this year. We are keeping track of our professional development offerings, making sure that we are providing professional development to all of our instructional staff. We obviously have the Texas Tech going on with our principals, but we're making sure that all of our teachers are also receiving good and rich professional development. We have embedded professional development in our district PLCs. We're on a schedule where we alternate with the campuses, where 1 week is district and the second week is, on the alternating week is campus. And in those district PLCs, we make a point to provide professional development support as well as instructional support and data analysis. And then third is the instructional leadership. Again, our principals are going to Texas Tech getting that valuable professional development with Texas Tech. And this year, Texas Tech will actually come and visit our principals' campuses to do on-site visits. Those visits will start next month and they will conclude in January. They will visit all 9 campuses to do site visits, to see how things are going, to see if the practices are being actually implemented, and just to provide that extra support. They're also following the effective school framework that we're using for our targeted improvement plans. Also, I want to just also congratulate all of our principals. And each week we get the metrics on how well they're doing their walkthroughs, if they're providing feedback for their walkthroughs. And I just want to congratulate them because those indicators have all improved, which means that the work is being done, that principals are actually, in the classroom supporting teachers and instruction. Are there any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you very much, Dr. Givens.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Givens. At this time, I'm going to, is Amy on? Is Amy on?
She's logging in, sir.
Okay, well then I'll go ahead and stick with enrollment priority. Then Ms. Ring, at this time, Ms. Ring is new to us and she's taken over the enrollment priorities. And so she will give you an update on some initiatives and things that we're dealing with as far as enrollment. Ms. Ring. Is Ms. Ring on?
Amy's on now if you want.
Carrie?
She's on. Carrie, are you having some issues with technology? You can come up here if you want to. Sir, I've been told that Amy is now on if you want to stick to your original plan.
Yes, then we'll go. Amy's actually at an event for her children today. And so she's been so gracious to jump on for the board meeting to present. So if we could go ahead and just go to the student, support systems and process priority. Ms. Woods?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. Good afternoon. Thank you for being patient with me today. So for our strategic priorities, initiatives update, we are currently on track for all 3 of our goals. For the first goal for change management document and timeline, we do have this document prepared. Basically, it's a document that's going to show how we update any policies or policies and procedures for the district. It's going to give everybody a insight onto why something's changing, why we're updating a manual, a policy. Right now we are in the beginning phases of getting it rolled out to the district. We're going to bring it to the principals cabinet so we can get their feedback and buy-in into the document. And it's just going to be a great way to showcase why we are making changes to the district and make sure everyone from the top down knows why changes are being made. For our principals cabinet, this was established to make sure we use operations, IT, so each department can bring information to the principals cabinet, and then we meet, we give the information to principals about a week or so beforehand, so that way they can review it, come back with feedback, with questions, and then we take that information back to the department. So that way we are all working together to make the best policies and procedures for everybody. We have already met this year on October 25th, and we already have all 3 of our meetings for this year established. And basically, I will reach out to every department, ask them if they have anything new they would like to present to the principals, and then we move forward from there. For goal number 3, it is the central document repository. Currently, the district utilizes SharePoint. We are staying with SharePoint for now with Microsoft. We're working with IT to establish a training session for all employees. So if they have questions on how to utilize, how to find anything in SharePoint, we will be hosting that this year on the Professional Development Day. Again, this is so that way all of our documents from manuals, forms, procedures are kept in one central location. So that way we all know where to locate these items. And again, all of our goals are on track, and that's all my updates for now. Is there any questions for me?
Thank you. I don't hear any questions.
Thank you.
right,
Amy,
thank you.
and enjoy your event. She's PTA president, and so she's doing that today. So have a good weekend.
Thank you, y'all too.
Is Ms. Ring available now, or is she still having technical difficulties?
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so I am going to be presenting the initiatives for enrollment and the priority there. The first goal is the Rma Enrollment Toolkit, and we have updated the marketing materials and replenished them with new items, and changed some of the things that we had currently, and then added some new brochures and new pieces to the marketing materials that we have available through SharePoint. We have our SCLs in our community outreach program, and they have their visits tracked on a weekly basis through metrics. Number 10, there's an annual audit that's been initiated at each campus. They are requested to connect with at least 6 individual sources per month, but according to the audit results that have come in, they are averaging about 10 per month. And those are separate sources with new and different companies. So if they connect with 2 people at the same company, that would still just count as 1. We also initiated a platform for counselors and a special ed director to tour from ISDs or consolidated school districts as an introduction of the campus at each location. And that would be to cultivate and develop a relationship for referrals in the future. Goal number 2 is the centralized marketing campaign. We've developed an annual marketing plan. We've also worked on the development and rollout of the new website through Blackboard. Blackboard is going to increase our usability. It's going to be student-centered, and the interface is going to be much easier to use for our stakeholders, being parents and enrollment, for people that are interested in signing up for school. The other thing is there is a parent portal, so they will be able to retrieve their data whenever they're interested in seeing their students' grades. We've also been working on the improved Rma Newsletter, the Friends of Rma Newsletter. We've been running Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads to find prospective parents and students and applying the applicable filters. We've developed and implemented a content calendar for social media, centralized all of our data for School Messenger to create and increase communications with parents and students. And then we've also, technology, Carl and Liz were so helpful in moving over our data for staff. So we're able to send our staff members the same messages that we send to students in case there's some type of a closure due to weather or inclement weather notices. So everyone is on the same page with that. We've increased email correspondence with local school districts. We've worked on the development of an editorial rollout for each campus and each individual city. And we're going to begin that as soon as we come back from our winter break. And we're going to start hitting those in a synchronized manner and have an editorial go so that it's published in the newspaper. We are working on establishing our Education Foundation board, and our projected launch date for that would be the 2022 to 2023 school year. And that will assist with our visibility for the school district. We've been gathering.
And Ms. Ring, I would,
Yeah.
if I could, just about that. We're working with Fred Brown, who was the former state House of Representatives member, and he has identified, he's working to identify and recruit board members for the foundation. And he got one of the former state senators as one of our new board members for the foundation. And so he's making great progress.
Yes, he is. And he's been really helpful in working on that as well. One thing that isn't listed, we are doing the student-centered social media contests that Dr. Anderson mentioned previously. So that's another thing that we're going to be rolling out at the first of the year as well. So for the student support services, okay, so for the student support services to reduce the dropout rates, we have been gathering information for Ascender software, which, as I mentioned previously, that will include a parent portal for grade retrieval. We will have biannual retrieval of student feedback and have a needs assessment in person at each campus. There will be a creation and implementation of a student leadership council at each campus for student feedback and ideas on a constructive level. We've begun that, and we have 4 campuses that are completed. We are working on a task force for student-centered initiatives at each campus to locate and facilitate pitfalls and shortcomings within the district. We are currently working on planning stages of student referral systems, so they can refer their friends and assist with getting the word out and come up with some ideas themselves so they can take part in ownership in their school district. And then, as Dr. Anderson mentioned, we are partnering with Texas Tech through Carl's daughter. She actually initiated the introduction, and there will be 2 initiatives. There's a marketing research undergrad project that is going to be working on marketing and rebranding and assisting with some of their ideas, and they will be facilitating that through the Lubbock campus. And Ms. White is very excited about the things that that they can do with some of her students and the interview process and some of the ideas that they threw out. And then the second one, there's a capstone graduate school project that is statistics based, and part of their assignment will be to gather information on retention, rebranding, and ADA, and they will have to uncover that need. So they will not give them any information. We'll just provide them with numbers only, without any student data, just merely the numbers. And then they will have to find the pieces that they would need to work on. That's part of their project. But we will be working with Texas Tech, and we'll be reporting back to the board with their findings. And then the fourth is our student onboarding system, which is our contract with Harris. And that was extended through the 21-22 school year. And we have talked to, there is strong consideration about moving to Ascender with some of those. And that's all I have for that. Does anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot of information covered.
I thank you. I don't think that I see any questions or comments. I think that leaves us with Dr. Anderson.
Yes, and the last presenter is going to be Christina, for the student culture priority.
Good afternoon. So we've got a couple of different goals here. We have our recruit, retrain, and develop new and existing staff. Staff appreciation and partnership have been rolled out. We're making the expected progress. The mentor program will be piloted in the spring of this school year. Development and implementation of the Proud Rma experience has begun and is making expected progress. Our second goal is the diversity and cultural competency. The Texas Tech University Principal Leadership Program has provided a strong diversity and cultural competency component for our campus administrators, so we are also on track there. Our third goal is the family and community engagement. Staff meetings, including community members and parents, have been held on all RMA campuses. College and career fairs were set up for the Corpus Christi, Houston, Lubbock, Odessa, Midland, and Amarillo, with Corpus Christi being the largest. There were about 20 colleges and universities that participated over the 6 RMA campuses. Chamber of Commerce ribbon cutting was at Pasadena, partnership with Texas Workforce to offer job training to students. I believe this is actually more, but we have most of our campus locations have MOUs with the local colleges. The Title I meetings have been held on all 9 campuses. Colinas hosted a family night, Amarillo a senior night, Corpus Christi an open house, and a blood drive in Houston. There's a Xerox partnership, donations from EVIC and Frost Bank to help build the basketball court at the Corpus Christi campus. Parent involvement, community events, parenting classes, staff training initiatives are in progress as the current restrictions allow. Student and parent surveys were conducted in the fall and the spring of the 2021 school year, and we are putting that data together. That's currently on track. Our fourth goal is culture of high achievement. Again, most of the campus locations have MOUs with the local colleges. We have the Xerox printing and imaging regional CTE program of study implemented at the Pasadena campus, and strategically administered Texas Success Initiative, or TSI testing, is going on across the campuses. Let's see. And then we're on track there. We have our goal 5, our positive behavioral intervention and support. We have not started this initiative. There hasn't been any progress made. I believe the intention was for one of our directors, who is no longer a director here, to take on this initiative and run it, as they had extensive knowledge in it. So I think we are currently assessing who would be the best fit to help us push this initiative through. And then we have our student voice, which has been delayed. However, student leadership councils are being created by the director of marketing on each of the campuses. I believe there are 4 that have currently been created and implemented across the district. And that initiative is delayed. Did anybody have any questions?
All right. If none, then again, I invite the board to take the documents of these strategic plan updates and look at the documents that Becky sent out to you once you became board members or at the beginning of the year, and just kind of compare them, and you can kind of spend more time studying and and know where we are. But my hat's off to all of the departments and those leading the strategic planning initiatives. I think that they are doing an outstanding job in adhering and trying to meet those initiatives, those over the 3 years. Dr. Plitzka, if there's nothing else, we can move to the House Bill 3.
Okay, let's do that.
Hello, everyone. We're getting ready to move on to the House Bill 3. Becky is going to switch to the PowerPoint, correct, Becky?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, and while she's doing that, House Bill 3 is addressing college, career, and military readiness.
Oh, goodness.
It was a bill that was passed in 2019. It is in response to improve students' participation in college, career, and military readiness. The bill is required, this bill requires boards of schools and open enrollment charter schools to adopt college, career, and military readiness plans and to post them on their website. The report will address the board outcome and goals and progress measures being monitored, as well as data showing previous reporting periods, the current reporting period, and the annual and 5-year targets. Okay. Can you start at the beginning?
So this is your cover, and then does this look like this should be page 2?
Yes.
Okay,
You want to start the slideshow?
let me see.
At the top. Move over, yeah. Okay. Okay, next, please. Thank you. And like I said, this is the requirement from the House Bill 3 from 2019, and this report will be the board outcome goals and progress measures being monitored and data showing previous reporting periods, the current reporting period, and the annual and 5-year deadline targets. Okay. The goals of college, career, and military readiness is to look at college ready, academic performance, or data-driven instruction. We're looking at ACT, SAT, TSI, AP, and dual credit. For career readiness, successful completion of industry-based certifications and special education workforce ready. And military is enlisting in the armed forces and reporting to basic training. Those are the components of House Bill 3. Okay. These were the board adopted goals last year on January 14th of 2021. The board goals result by 2025 that we will have all seniors graduating, that 34% of all seniors will graduate with a CCMR credit. Okay. The percentage of graduates that meet this criteria for CCMR will increase from 24%, and that was, I believe, in 2020, to 39% by August of 25. Again, this was adopted by the board on 1/14/21. I do have a recommendation, although this is just an informational presentation. I have a recommendation. The goal of 39% be accelerated to the August of 23 for the purpose of charter renewal and state accountability. This slide is simply showing all of the different components of House Bill 3. And then I have each of them on a separate slide, so it's a little bit easier to see. It's also in the book, the board book. Okay. In this one, we're looking at graduates who complete a college prep course will increase from 0 to 3 by June of 2025. Again, this was the goal that was adopted in last year on January 14th, 2021. What we're doing, we really feel we're going to surpass that goal readily. Starting in January, all seniors will have the opportunity to participate in the college prep course through the Texas College Bridge Partnership. So we really feel very strongly that we will more than surpass 3% of all graduates getting an opportunity to have a college prep course. And we really believe we'll have it by the end of this school year. Next, please. The next measure is graduates who earn an industry-based certification will increase from 5% to 13% by June of 2025. Again, this was what was adopted last year on 1/14/2021. This year, I am very happy to announce that we've already, I'm pretty sure we've already passed that goal. We've been really working very hard on getting industry-based certifications. The CTE coordinator, Mr. Showers, truly has put full effort into getting this done. Last year, we had 31 students who had a industry-based certification. This year, as of this right today, we have 62 students who have industry-based certifications. That's 100% increase from last year. And we already have 2 major pushes for December in, I believe, Lubbock and Corpus to get, over 40 students with an industry-based certification with OSHA. And so we're looking really good with definitely surpassing this goal for this school year. Like, again, we're being very aggressive so we can be prepared for our renewal. Next slide, please. Graduates who meet the Texas Success Initiative, TSI criteria in both math and English, language arts, and reading will increase from 1% to 5% of June 2025. Again, this goal was adopted last year, 1/14/21. Again, we feel that we're going to exceed this goal. We have increased our TSI opportunities. Last year, 153 students took the TSI test. Just this fall, we had 185 students take the TSI, which was a 21 increase, but that's only this fall. And then we will have a spring administration of the TSI as well. And then also, we will also have ACT testing this spring. We're looking at probably late January or early February. Next slide, please. One big initiative that's embedded in the HB3 are our college memorandums of understanding, because that's what's needed in order to have the dual credit and also for College Bridge. In 2021, you had Odessa, which has had a MOUs for over 11 years. And last year we had 5. This year we've added 3, and we're finalizing on Killeen. And I really strongly believe by the spring, all 9 campuses will have an MOU. Next slide, please. This is my proposal for monitoring and presentation. I would love to come back and present in January to readjust the goals that were adopted last year. I think we can be a little bit more aggressive with our goals. Also, I would like to come back in July and November to give you updates on our progress. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Givens.
I want the board to know that when we were at the charter school conference, Dr. Givens bought a billionaire a bottle of water, and he sent he owns a hair. What is it? What hair company is it, Dr. Givens?
He owns Paul Mitchell.
Yeah.
And he also owns Patron. He only gave me stuff from Paul Mitchell. He didn't give me-
And he told her to write her address down. He wanted to send her something. And he sent her a box of goodies. So
Yes, he did.
thank you, Dr. Gibbons.
Thank you.
Then the last thing, if there are no questions, is the introduction of our interim principal, which the board has not had a chance to meet. As you know, Mr. Garcia left to take a position. Keith Garcia, who was the principal of Pasadena, left to go to work with as he called it, a more affluent charter school. And we had an opening come available. And so we were able to find Miss Ingrid Baker. I can't pronounce her last name, so she'll have to introduce herself and say the second part of the name. But we were fortunate. She has been an administrator in Houston ISD. She's even worked overseas in Dubai as an administrator. And so she's well capable of doing the work. She's a certified educator. And we were excited when we interviewed her and to have her. And so I felt that, that we would definitely give her a trial run and from all input from central office and campus personnel. It seems that she's doing a fine job there in Pasadena. And so Ms. Baker, are you on?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Did you have anything you'd like to say to the board?
Yes, sir. Just a few words. Good morning, everyone. I am
Good morning.
Ingrid Baker Irahone. It is indeed a pleasure to stand before you today. I am extremely excited about the opportunity to serve as the principal of the RMA Pasadena campus. As Dr. Anderson stated, I bring 2 decades of experience to this role. I have served in a number of capacities during my educational tenure. Some of my strengths include building teacher capacity, developing relationships with stakeholders, and authoring instructional content and assessments. Since being seated in this position, our focus for the RMA Pasadena campus this year will center around a 2-pronged approach. Our first focus area is on building relationships with students and the community so that we lower our student mobility rate and increase our attendance and enrollment. Our next area of focus is on strengthening our instructional programming by ensuring students receive solid Tier 1 instruction and offering innovative instructional programming options. Mr. Campbell and the RMA Pasadena administrative team have been instrumental in working on these 2 goals, and I look forward to sharing with you in the very near future the gains that have been made as a result of our relentless focus on instruction and relationships. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
And welcome aboard. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And Dr. Putzka, that's it for me.
Well, okay, so thank you to all the board members. First of all, let me once again say thank you to the employees for putting together all this information, getting it out to us in a very timely way. And I would like to end by wishing everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I don't guess we'll get back together again as a group until after the first of the year, but take care, be careful, and enjoy the holiday seasons as they come up. But thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
It is 1:04 and the meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Nemick, I'll see you on next week.